Yeah, I mean, listen, it's to me, equal pay is like an open and shut case. Like we're gonna look back at this time, you know, however long from now. I hope it's not that long from now, but 25 years, 100 years, 200 years from now, and we're gonna be like, wait, what happened? Like we just all decided that female athletes are going to get less sponsorship dollars, less ad revenue, less marketing. So it's really not even fair that we're judging them on things like ratings because we don't market the product, less resources, but yet they're going to endeavor in the same ways to be great at a high level. And in fact, their games are often just as, if not more exciting. Like that was a thing that actually happened. And we really don't do it in any other space. Imagine like, female musician walking into a recording studio, and yeah, all the execs said, yeah, you know what, you sound great, Adele, but we're gonna pay you like 75 cents on the dollar. Like that would just never happen. So for me, there are like some very clear things where, you know, we try to wrap the equal pay, whether it's in sports or in corporate North America, underneath things of, oh, well, you know, we're paying you what you're worth relative to what the ratings are, or how we can market the product. There's some very clear and basic things that are not fair or equitable that should be. How can we ask female athletes to travel differently than male athletes? Like, this is open and shut case. You're going from one place to the other. You're representing your country, or in the case of WNBA players, a team or a city. Why would we assume that the men need to travel one way to achieve a high level of greatness, but the women wouldn't? Why would we put less resources in terms of therapists and doctors and support staff for a women's team than a male team? Like you're just showing your hand in terms of how you value the product, and really ultimately how you value women. And so the broader conversation for us as a society is, this is half and often more than 50% of our population. Are we going to actively treat them as second-class citizens openly, not even really hiding it, when we all, last I checked, all came from a mother, regardless if you're male or female? You know, we all, many of us have sisters and wives and friends, but even if you don't, just the bottom line fact that we should honor someone for their ingenuity, for their work ethic, for their talent, but we're going to make you work at a discount just because of your chromosomes. Like that doesn't make any sense, and it's really unacceptable. But more often, even if you don't see it that way, from a clear cut case the way I do, well, let's look at all of the intangibles that we know that come with our society, that makes our society overall better if we invest in female sports. We know in terms of what it does for self-esteem of girls in their adolescence, what it does for their future career, both in education and eventually in the workforce. We know that representation really, really matters. And especially when we're at a time when suicide rates, specifically for adolescents and specifically for females, is at a shocking number. Like, we should be saying, okay, well, if this is something that can remedy this, we should all be, you know, pulling that rope in that direction. So clearly there are many cases why we should be investing, and we should be paying women, I don't know, what they're worth, right? And so that's part of it. And you know, the other part of it for me, so we've talked about kind of human rights side and the moral side and the long play side, and for us as a culture, like, forget about morals. Let's just talk about money. Let's just talk about business. Any venture capitalist is looking for an untapped market, something with huge growth potential that is basically showing you that with a little bit of investment and consistency could really skyrocket. Women's sports has been that for decades. And when they've had little investment, we've seen great returns. And the countries specifically that have invested consistently are the ones who dominate in women's sports and produce leaders in women's sports, not just on the field, but in their associations, and that leadership cascades into other parts of their country and their economy. Like this is not a debate at this point. It's proven. So the business case in terms of whether you are a sports organization like the one that I work for in Sportsnet, or you're a government agency like the Canadian government, or if you're a brand, if you're Nike or Adidas or Under Armour, knowing that the buying power in every household, most of the disposable income is decided by females. Like, there are so many just obvious cases why we should be investing in women's sports much, much more. So I think on many levels, we're going to look back to this time and be dumbfounded that, yeah, the female team at UNC plays in front of like 5,000. It's mainly friends and family. And the men's team plays in front of 20,000. And, you know, the coach makes 15x for the men's team what the women's team makes. Like, we're going to look back and we're going to say that makes no sense, because we don't, outside of sports, other than, you know, the C-suites of Fortune 500 companies, we don't really look at things that way for the most part. And obviously there are some areas in the world that where culturally things are much worse than they are here in North America. But for us as Canadians specifically, if we're going to have politicians who say that they're feminists, and we say as a country that we're progressive and inclusive and diverse, well, we actually have to show our work. And sports is a very easy, simple way that we could do that.